and women who served had no way of knowing what was happening back home. They were completely cut off from any news whatsoever.
Being stressed was something that every soldier had in common. Nothing was predictable when it came to serving in war.
Injuries are also common amongst soldiers. They are always susceptible to getting wounded while working on base or off.
Being injured can cause many problems. For example, the loss of ability to help out your team or your injury getting worse.
Serving in a war can be quite a hassle. Everyone is always scared and nervous about what dangers could be approaching.
Tom, since a young age, knew how serious serving in the Army was to our country.
When Tom Demoss explained to his family that he was ready to join the Army, his relatives had opinions about his decision. His uncle was excited and he was encouraging him, for he was once in the Army too, but his dad didn't want him to join. His father was hoping that when he was in the military, he did enough that his kids wouldn't have to join. Despite his try to ensure his kids be safe, he accepted his son's choice. Tom's mother, on the other hand, was scared for him. She didn't know what was in store for him while he was miles away, but Tom was grounded to his decision and chose to enlist into the Army.
Well, my grandparents had passed away before I would graduate high school, and my uncle, he was proud. Dad wasn't so happy, but he's kind of like me. He figured he did his time and didn't want me to have to do it.
When any men or women join the military, they are required to go through boot camp. Boot camp is also called recruit camp. It is a camp where recruits from any section of the military come. They learn the skills they need to become a soldier for 10 long weeks. When Tom entered boot camp, he first learned that dropping a rifle was one of the worst ideas you could possibly do. Once, while the recruits were working around the camp, a youngster about 19 dropped his gun. He immediately was punished and forced to do 100 push-ups right there and then. After that incident, everyone was especially careful with their rifle.
The Army is the largest military branch in the USA. It works on fighting against other countries to keep us citizens safe. This is why veterans are so respected. They are also respected because of how much training it takes to protect everyone. The Army is an on-ground fighting unit. They occupy the country they're fighting against. The Army has ranks that go from lowest to highest private. Above privates are officers, and then it moves on to the general of the Army. Armies have been fighting since long ago. Soldiers can be drafted or they can enlist themselves. When you're drafted, you're chosen to be in the military by the government. When you enlist, it's your choice.
When Tom transferred to Afghanistan, he was happy to go. While he was serving, he had a few close friends to work with. Tom told us that he became serious for reasons and doesn't want to mess around. If he got caught messing around, he would get into trouble.
Tom was only granted 5 minutes on the phone for his family every 2 months.
When the situation permitted it, in Afghanistan there's very few times to contact family members where we were, so I was able to, I did. It takes too long and too big of a process to send letters, so it was easier to just call. And we didn't really have a whole lot of time to write letters, so these two I did.
For being away for a long time, that can be really stressful because you don't know what's happening back home. Not having anybody close to you in the Army can also be nerve-wracking because you don't have many people to talk to and relate with.
When Tom moved up his rank to sergeant, he got a knee injury. Once he learned that it was too bad of an injury and he would have to go home, he was highly disappointed. He finally agreed and left soon after. When he got back to his hometown, the neighborhood threw him a parade for his service. Tom thought it was unfair to his father.
When Tom got home, he was not deeply disturbed in any way because he didn't want to go back to the past and change anything he did. He was fairly confident with all of his decisions. He didn't change his lifestyle at home at all, and for the most part, he went back to normal. He recognizes that soldiers may have it better now at war than when he was in the Army. They now have more secure bases and better security. He had a harder time than the new recruits who get to feel safer.
Tom wasn't close to anyone who passed, though he still feels horrible for the family of the men and women. Fortunately, his friends and his acquaintances were safe, as well as he was. Something he thought was cool about the Army was how serving can connect you with others that have shared experiences. When Tom came out of the Army, he met other men and women who have served too, and built relationships through their adventures. Tom still keeps in contact with the other soldiers who have served alongside him, and they catch up a few times a month.
Tom took his time in service very seriously. He didn't have too many friends, but he had just enough to keep him going. Friends weren't his main idea about being in the Army. The conditions were very hot, but it could rain, snow, or hail at any time in Afghanistan. Living in Iowa, then going to a place where it's hot constantly, with heavy clothing, and running more than a normal person would on an average day. Men and women in the Army would run constantly to hide or try and hit the other country. Though Tom was in shape and ready because of boot camp and how he was raised in a military family.
Being in the Army didn't have an effect on him because he grew up in a military family. Therefore, he had a reason for going into the Army because he grew up in a place where he learned about it and thought about it constantly. He loved being in the Army and becoming a soldier. He said he would never change his decision or that time of his life.
Tom always knew he wanted to be in the military. When he was in high school, he was in great shape and was looking into joining the Army. By the end of his high school career, he knew that he wanted to be in the Army and enlisted.
Since Tom got a knee injury and got him out of the Army and the military overall because of what his rank and job was. So that means his rank and job both had a higher risk of getting an injury. He still keeps in contact with other veterans he served with, and he keeps in contact with veterans he has met through serving in war and through the Legion. Tom has never been disturbed or mentally hurt or had any PTSD for a long period. He might had one when he just came out, but I don't think that he did. He and all of us still feel horrible for the men and women's families who lost them in the war. Tom was a great service member and a great man. Even though his whole family did or did not approve, we are happy he served and we could do a project about him.
I would like to thank all of you vets. Your service in the military means a lot to this country and to us. Sarah and I had a lot of fun working on this project and working with especially Tom Demoss. We want to thank you again for your time, for coming to talk to us, and for your service in the military.
I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Cruz and Ms. Van for making this project so we could learn about veterans and how their life stories went. And I'd like to thank the veterans again for taking time out of their day to come and share their life stories with us. And thank you for serving.